Did you know Nelson Mandela wasn't actually born with the name Nelson? His birth name was Rolihlahla. This is the story of the man who would become synonymous with freedom, justice, and forgiveness, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Born on July 18, 1918, in the small village of Mviso, in the Transkei region of South Africa, Rolihlahla, a Xhosa name meaning troublemaker, entered a world defined by tradition and the looming shadow of colonial rule. His father, Nkosi Mfakaneiswa Gadle Mandela, served as a counselor to the acting king of the Tembu people, placing young Rolihlahla within the orbit of tribal leadership. His mother was Nonkofi Nosakini. He was born into the Madiba clan. The name Nelson, a common practice of the time, was given to him by a teacher at school, a reflection of the pervasive colonial influence on education. Mandela's early life was steeped in the customs and traditions of the Tembu people. He received his primary education at a local missionary school, where he excelled in his studies. This early exposure to Western education would prove pivotal in shaping his future. He later attended Fort Hare University, a leading institution for Black Africans, but his time there was cut short after he participated in a student protest in 1940. Expelled for his activism, Mandela's path veered sharply towards the political arena. In 1941, he moved to Johannesburg, a bustling metropolis where he witnessed firsthand the stark realities of racial segregation and discrimination under the burgeoning apartheid regime. He continued his legal studies through the University of South Africa and Witwatersrand, eventually earning a BA and a law diploma. But it was his experiences in Johannesburg that ignited his passion for justice and equality. The daily indignities suffered by Black South Africans fueled his determination to challenge the status quo. In 1944, Mandela joined the African National Congress, or ANC, a political organization committed to fighting for the rights of Black Africans. Recognizing the need for a more assertive approach, he helped found the ANC Youth League, advocating for a more militant stance against apartheid. The ANC adopted the Program of Action in 1949, influenced by younger militants including Mandela. Mandela's legal training became a critical tool. He understood the power of the law, not only as a means of oppression but also as a potential weapon against it. It was this understanding that led him, along with Oliver Tambo, to found Mandela and Tambo in August 1952, South Africa's first black-owned law firm. Mandela and Tambo became more than just a legal practice. It became a beacon of hope for Black South Africans facing the brutal realities of apartheid. The firm provided legal representation to countless victims of racial discrimination, fighting for their rights in a system designed to deny them. Mandela's commitment to nonviolent resistance was put to the test in the wake of the Sharpeville massacre on March 21, 1960. This event, in which police opened fire on peaceful protesters, killing 69 people, marked a turning point in the anti-apartheid struggle. The Sharpeville massacre and the banning of liberation movement exposed the government's willingness to use violence to maintain its grip on power. This realization led Mandela and other ANC leaders to conclude that armed resistance was the only remaining option. In 1961, Mandela co-founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, or MK, the armed wing of the ANC. This marked a significant departure from the ANC's previous commitment to nonviolent protest. Mandela believed that sabotage and other forms of armed resistance were necessary to disrupt the apartheid regime and force it to negotiate. However, in 1962, Mandela was arrested, setting in motion a chain of events that would define his life for the next 27 years. He was tried in the Rivonia trial, along with other ANC leaders, on charges of sabotage and attempting to overthrow the state. On April 20, 1964, Mandela delivered his famous speech from the dock, a powerful declaration of his unwavering commitment to freedom and equality. The speech resonated deeply with the world and became a rallying cry for the anti-apartheid movement. He said, "I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." On June 12, 1964, Mandela and his comrades were sentenced to life imprisonment. He was initially imprisoned at Robben Island, a notorious prison off the coast of Cape Town. For 18 years, Mandela endured harsh conditions, forced labor, and relentless attempts to break his spirit. Despite the hardships, he remained a symbol of resistance and hope for millions of South Africans. During his imprisonment, Mandela became an international symbol of resistance. The global anti-apartheid movement gained momentum, pressuring the South African government to release him and end its racist policies. However, he was not universally embraced by Western governments during the Cold War era. In the 1980s, the South African government offered Mandela conditional release, requiring him to renounce armed struggle. He refused. He understood that accepting such terms would betray the principles for which he had fought and suffered. In 1982, he was moved to Pollsmoor Prison, and later to Victor Verster Prison. Secretly, Mandela began negotiating with his jailers and F.W. de Klerk. Finally, on February 11, 1990, after 27 years of imprisonment, Nelson Mandela walked free. His release was a watershed moment, signaling the beginning of the end of apartheid. He became president of the ANC in 1991, replacing Oliver Tambo. In 1993, Mandela and F.W. de Klerk were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their roles in negotiating the end of apartheid. On April 27, 1994, Mandela cast his first vote in South Africa's first fully democratic election. This momentous occasion marked the culmination of decades of struggle and sacrifice. On May 10, 1994, Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as South Africa's first black president, a moment that symbolized the triumph of justice and equality over oppression and hatred. As president, Mandela prioritized racial reconciliation, nation building, and the establishment of a constitutional democracy. He understood that South Africa's future depended on healing the wounds of the past and creating a society where all citizens could live together in peace and harmony. One of his most significant achievements was the establishment of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which provided a platform for victims and perpetrators of apartheid-era violence to share their stories and seek closure. Stepping down in 1999 after one term, he set an important democratic precedent on the African continent. Mandela's commitment to justice, equality, and reconciliation transformed South Africa and inspired people around the world. In his post-presidency, Mandela continued to work tirelessly for peace and social justice through the Nelson Mandela Foundation, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, and the Mandela Rhodes Foundation. These shaped memory politics, education, youth development, and public history across Africa. Nelson Mandela passed away on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire generations. He intentionally served only one term. Mandela remains a benchmark for peaceful political transition in Africa. He is used in contemporary African political rhetoric as a symbol of integrity and self-sacrifice. While his legacy is celebrated globally, debates continue in South Africa about land reform, inequality, and racial justice, highlighting the unfinished economic transformation. Mandela's life was defined by courage, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to justice. He demonstrated that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, it is possible to overcome oppression and create a better world. He is one of the few 20th-century political leaders whose name became synonymous with forgiveness, endurance, and democratic legitimacy. Nelson Mandela's story is a testament to the power of the human spirit and a reminder that the fight for freedom and equality is never truly over.